Thank you. I'm going to start with a question which both candidates addressed to some degree, but it's a specific question to Mr. Pallone. What has the government specifically done to reduce the federal $13 trillion deficit?
Well, I think that what we really need to do if we're going to reduce the deficit is, first of all, we have to get defense spending under control. We have to bring our troops home from Iraq and Afghanistan. We have to stop spending so much money on these overseas ventures. As you may know, I did not support the Iraq War. I think it's been a tremendous waste in terms of both money and also the many thousands of lives that have also but I also think that over time we can get the deficit under control if we reduce spending. And also, one of the things we need to do is to, when we renew the tax policy at the end of this year, not give huge tax cuts to corporations and to wealthy people. That will also help to reduce the deficit over the long run. It's a very important issue, and it can be addressed both by reducing spending as well as particularly with regard to defense and our overseas wars.
Thank you. Ms. Little, a slight variant on the question for you. What will you do to reduce the deficit?
Well, I will reduce government spending. We will reduce the size of federal government to the scope intended by the Founding Fathers. As evidenced by the United States Constitution, there are 17 enumerated powers. Those departments and agencies that function within those enumerated powers will remain. Those that don't should be handled at the state or the local level by the states or the people. And that will be the first start. We also cannot deficit spend in government. We do not deficit spend at home. When the balance in the bank account is zero, we stop spending. We need to have more revenue before we can spend again. And incidentally, you can't spend the same dollar twice, which means if it's intended on the budget for one item, it cannot then be borrowed and brought to another budgetary line item. That's simple math. We need to approach government in a very straightforward, simple method in order to deal with the spending issues. I think it is unfair to target the military. That's a national defense issue. Without our military, we have no sovereign nation. And so we definitely need to fight. In short, I will look at every line item in the budget. I have done this as a freeholder. We've looked at 5, 10, and 15% budget cut impacts at the county level, which resulted in 2008, after my 2 years service on the freeholder board, in a 0% tax increase. We are presently working on a similar scenario in the borough of Highlands, where I'm mayor, and I'll do that as a congresswoman.
For both candidates, should millionaires pay the same rate as less affluent people?
Well, I think that this is an important issue because my opponent, Ms. Little, has said repeatedly at forums and debates that she wants to eliminate the federal income tax, which is a progressive income tax, and basically taxes people more if they're wealthy and also taxes corporations, and replace it with a national sales tax. Now, the Brookings Institute estimated if you did that, you'd have a 23-cent national sales tax on everything. Keep in mind, New Jersey already has a 7-cent sales tax, so that would be a 30-cent tax on everything that you buy. Whether you go out and buy milk for $3, it becomes $4. You go out and buy a house, you're going to pay a 30% tax. I think it's grossly unfair to the average person. I think you have to grow the middle class, not hurt the middle class. And what this would do would basically shift tax policy so the wealthy and the large corporations wouldn't pay their fair share, and instead all the burden would be on the little guy, which I think is totally inappropriate in terms of tax policy. It should be progressive, and people should pay based on their income.
I do think a flat tax would help us. For starters, it would be a 12% tax, flat tax. However, the fair tax to which my opponent has just referred, he does not even begin to understand. You see, the 23% tax he referred to, that he said was very unfair to the middle class, you're already paying it. You're already paying it. You're already paying the 7% tax at the state level. Under a fair tax, you would receive, actually, a broadened tax base where you would probably end up paying less than the 23% because more people would be paying in. It's, again, simple math. You see, more taxpayers means each individual pays less tax. Right now, 50% of Americans pay tax. We need it to be 100%. I just want to respond to one other reference to growing the middle class. I would like to inform the Congressman we already exist. You can't grow us, and we would like to direct ourselves.
The next question goes first to Ms. Little. Entitlements are putting this country under and in debt beyond our ability to pay. Obamacare is just another entitlement. Specifically, what do you propose to reform? How do you propose to reform Social Security before it goes bankrupt?
Well, entitlements is very broad. Social Security I'll refer to. Part of the funding problem with Social Security right now is that there are too many Americans out of work. 15 million Americans are out of work. When people don't work, they don't contribute. More people are being served by Social Security than those who are paying in. The math does not work. We do need reform. I will tell you, all seniors are safe right now. We need to deal with the population born 1970 or later. We have to help them with some temporary measures so that they can actually receive a benefit, because as it stands now, the trust fund will be depleted by the time they are eligible to collect. And then as far as reforming, we need to get government spending down so that we can take care of people and put forward the secure retirement eligibility that we have had and our parents have had before us. As far as the entitlement culture, it's a bad situation, ladies and gentlemen. We've taught people to be dependent on the government. We've taught them that that's okay. And ladies and gentlemen, every one of us is an independent, self-determining American. We all want to take care of ourselves. Yes, when we're down and out, we need a little lift, but we have to transition welfare and social programs so that those who are dependent on public health will be able to get back to private sector jobs and independence and freedom and choices as soon as possible.
Well, thank you. In terms of Social Security and Medicare, I would simply refer everyone to today's Star Ledger, where it says that Anna Little believes that Social Security and Medicare are unconstitutional. Now, I assume that if she believes that they're unconstitutional, at some point she would make an attempt to abolish them. I think that makes no sense whatsoever. It's an example. It's an example of how she basically doesn't care about the middle class and seniors. Argue that at some point she should abolish and Medicare. Now, I think what we need to do is address these things. With regard to Medicare, in the healthcare reforms, we basically hung up the donut hole. We have a prescription drug benefit right now, but there's a time when you don't get it if you start to spend more than a certain amount of money. So what we did in the healthcare reform is we gave people a $250 rebate this year. Starting next year, drug prices, when you reach that donut hole, will be reduced 50%, and eventually they will simply be phased out. So I think that the answer is try to protect people, not to raise the age for Social Security, not privatize Social Security, certainly not abolish or suggest that Social Security and Medicare are unconstitutional.
Thank you.